Hi, I'm Ellie, and I'm a selfish, arrogant, controlling, bossy person. Let's chat.
This whole video, my guinea pigs decided to rearrange and make a whole bunch of noise. So I'm gonna have a little guinea pig cam just so you can see what all that rustling is.
I have been controlling and bossy my whole life. My dad thought that he should instill in me the values of a leader, unaware that he was creating a tiny tyrant. And I think when I became an adult, nobody taught me how to be a person, especially a good person. My dad is more of a figure it out as you go along kind of guy. And I don't know if my mom ever really did figure out how to be a person. Love her to death. So I had to figure it out on my own when I became an adult. And I did that through listening to a lot of self-help and reading a lot. I listened to a book about how to have conversations, and then I went to my work and I tried to have a conversation using it, and that was when I made my first friend as an adult. I told her a silly fact about monkeys that the fact we can't remember to this day, but we both remember the conversation because she was like, "Oh wow, that's actually interesting." And I was like, "It worked." And I'd been using it ever since. The book about conversations said that the trick, really, was to ask people questions about themselves and then truly listen to the answer. And next time you see that person, ask another question about the thing they told you about originally. It makes people feel like you're really paying attention to them and that you really care about what's going on, and they'll really like that you remembered what they said to you and even asked about it. I just went to push up my glasses that aren't there. You might do something like that on accident. Not accident, but just making conversation with your friends. You like your friends. You're going to remember things your friends said to you, probably, and you're going to end up asking about them because you're genuinely curious. That's what friends do. So doing that with someone who's not yet your friend kind of builds this friendly rapport. I've gotten off topic. Why am I a selfish, arrogant, controlling, bossy person? I think that we all are. Not necessarily those flaws, but we all have our own flaws. And it's important to recognize them. That's what everybody in the self-help says. It's important to recognize them. But what do you do when you're so self-aware and yet you're not changing it? Oh, well, then you're the bad guy. You're the problem. You should be changing it. And I agree with that, and I should be changing it. And then there was a period of time in my life where I was very disciplined and I was very responsible and I was working on myself on a daily basis. And it's almost more annoying that I was able to do that before. Because when I try to do it now and I fail, it's like, okay, so I've gotten worse, so I'm not as good. But if I truly think about it, there are things that I used to do that I would never do now, that I would consider that a different person having done those things. That was the person before all that work I did. It's like recovering from drug addiction. You're never recovered. You're always recovering. These are the flaws of who I am as a person. I will never recover completely from the flaws of who I am as a person, but I will always be recovering from them. If I keep it in my head every day that I'm controlling, bossy, selfish, arrogant, then at least when I go out into the world, I can work on keeping that in check, not being those things to the people who interact with me. I could understand some people saying that you shouldn't need to police your own behavior for other people. I am a big believer in the fact that life is hard, and I don't want to be the reason somebody else's life got harder. I can't live with that on my conscience. I care deeply about other people, even people I do not know. To a fault, for sure. Sometimes I think that the self-help didn't help me, and I think that the therapy didn't help me. I was in therapy when I was really little because my grandmother died, and she had been taking care of us until then. And so it was a lot like a parent died, and it was really hard, and they took me to therapy, and I didn't want to talk about my feelings. I just wanted to play with the toys. I remember that because I remember sitting in the therapy office, and I kept getting out the toys, and they took them all away from me, and I had a little bag with me, and I pulled out my own toy from the little bag and threw an absolute fit when they tried to take my own toy away from me, because that's my toy I brought. How dare you? Mind you, I'm like 5 years old. I still think that way. Don't we all? I mean, that's my thing. You can't take it away. How dare you? I don't even care if you're doing it for my own good. You can't take things from me that belong to me. That's how we all think, is it not? I mean, a lot of us think. I guess I shouldn't say all. I don't know you. Right now, you're just my phone taped to the computer. I don't know you at all. But yeah, I was in therapy when I was young, and then I stopped going to therapy, and then they caught me self-harming when I was a teenager, and they sent me back to therapy. I remember when both of my parents discovered that I'd been self-harming, and let's just say they did not have the most appropriate reactions. Looking back as an adult, I understand they just didn't know what to do about that. But when I was a teenager and they caught me self-harming, and they didn't talk to me about it. They told me they were going to send me to therapy. And that, I remember crying and crying. They couldn't just speak to me about my problems and their problems. They had to send me to a stranger to speak to the stranger. Obviously, as an adult, they didn't know how to have that conversation. They didn't know what to say. But when I was the kid in that situation, it hurt so bad. It felt like my parents did not want to talk to me. Well, I'm getting teary-eyed. That was a hard time for me. And then when I became an adult and I got my own place, there's a lot more to that, but I went back to therapy as an adult. I did it online. It was Zoom calls. I didn't care so much for it being Zoom calls, and it didn't really work because I had already gone through my self-help discovery at this point. So the therapist and I are speaking, and I'm telling her things, and I'm being like, and this is my problem, and I need to stop doing this, and I should stop doing this, because I've been in therapy a bunch in my life, and I've gone through this self-help journey, and now I know all these things that I need to do differently. And she's like, great, so we'll just do those things differently. Yeah, if it was that simple, though, would I be in therapy right now? Like, I just won't. It's like the person who goes to bed at night is a different person than the person who wakes up in the morning in my body. And they're not good at communicating. I can be a very angry person. Everybody told me when I was a child that I had anger management issues. When I became a teenager and young adult, I said I didn't have anger management issues. My parents were very frustrating and made me angry, and then would say, oh, you have anger management issues, after I was pushed over the edge. I think both things can be true at once. I didn't know how to cope with anger because I had never seen someone properly cope with anger before. But they were pushing me past my limits, for sure. My favorite lyric to my favorite song is, I want to contribute to the chaos. I don't want to watch and then complain. I am through finding blame. That is a decision that I have made. And I think about that a lot. And I try to live my life by that. I never want to think it's someone else's fault when I could have something to do with it, when it could be my fault. Someone else once said, don't blame the world for your problems, blame yourself for your problems, because you can't change the world as easily as you can change yourself. But sometimes it feels pretty impossible to change yourself too. I have a bad habit of thinking I'm smarter than everyone else. I have a worse habit of thinking I'm more thoughtful than everyone else. I'm pretty good at articulating the way that I feel. That's not everybody's skill set. There are things that I am not good at, and especially when it comes to conversation. And it's not fair to think that other people aren't as thoughtful as I am just because they can't articulate their thoughts as well as I can. And I fail to articulate my thoughts and my feelings sometimes, just like everyone does. What do you do when you've learned how to be a better person and you've been a better person before and you've learned you shouldn't be a tyrant in your own head, so you try to make deals with yourself to be a better person? Am I still trying to be a better person? How do I know if I'm still trying to be a better person? Will I feel it? I wake up and I feel like I'm doing nothing with my life. Everything is a waste. I am plagued by the anxiety that I will grow old and die, and everyone will forget about me, and I will never have mattered and never have made an impact. And people have tried to make me feel better about this by saying, like, oh, well, you're just a little person on a little planet in a huge galaxy in a huge universe. Nothing any of us do ever matters. Oh my God, I hate that. I'm sorry, but I do. I cannot stand to think that way. I have to matter. Something in my brain just wants to bawl its eyes out at the idea that I never mattered. I mean, that makes sense. Don't we all want to have a purpose, want to matter? And I learned when I was younger, a young adult. As a child, I didn't know anything. I've kind of covered that so far. I learned as a young adult that purpose and responsibility are the key to happiness. I was told that, and I think that I have a tendency to take it too far. That I am responsible to a fault. I cannot wake up and feel not productive. I cannot sit there and do nothing and relax because I'm not being productive, because I'm not being responsible, because I'm not getting things done that should be done. And that voice in your head that tells you that you should do these things and to be responsible is a good voice. You should listen to it. It often speaks when you are not doing what you should be doing. But I think I became so obsessed with this voice telling me that I needed to be responsible all the time that I cannot turn it off now. Instead of it coming to me just when I'm not doing what I should be doing, it stays with me all of the time. And I drive myself crazy. And instead of having the voice in my head all the time, driving me crazy, making me do more and more stuff, I shut down. There's no amount of things to do that will make that voice stop telling me I'm not doing what I should be doing. So why do anything at all? I don't know. That's a question for you guys. I don't know. I don't know if I even have any good advice to give or if I'm just asking questions. I have good advice to give my friends. I am so good at spinning things the way that my brain wants to spin them. I could turn any negative situation into a positive situation, and I could turn any positive situation into a negative situation, and it just depends on what my brain wants to do that day. Aren't we all like that? How do you supplement the feeling that you are wasting your life? What do I do to not waste my life if I'm just a little person on a little planet in a giant galaxy, in a giant universe? There is no end to where I am not wasting my life. But if life is hard for everyone and I could make it easier for other people, is that the point? Is that what will make it less like I don't matter, less like life itself does not matter and it's a waste? And then do I constantly have to be helping other people? Because I've done things to align my life to be helping other people. I have taken on responsibilities fully that stay in my life as responsibilities, and I still wake up feeling like a waste of breath, a waste of life all the time. Is it because I still do things that I know I shouldn't? We all do. And in this age of technology and vapes and weed legalization, I mean, I'm all for weed legalization. It's insane, but people went to prison for weed. But in this era, you will be doing things you shouldn't be doing. I mean, in any era, people have always done things that they shouldn't be doing, but it's easier now than ever. I think about The Good Place, and spoiler alert, if you've never seen The Good Place, not a lot of people make it into The Good Place, and nobody in today's society makes it into The Good Place because of how everything is unethical now. You can't do anything at all. So you have to choose which things you care about. Someone once said that the problem that drives you crazy and keeps you up at night is your personal problem. Something about the world and your brain has chosen that problem, and that is your job to do what you can to help alleviate the problem while you are here. So that should be enough responsibility, right? That should placate the voice in my mind that says I'm wasting my life and I'm not doing enough. It doesn't. I know that I can be too controlling and I can be too bossy. But when I see people I care about doing things that I don't think will work out well for them, it takes everything in me to not say something or do something about it. And even then, I catch a little attitude. I can't help it. But it's their life. They watch me make mistakes that are not good for me. Granted, do they know that they're not good for me? Do I even know that their choices aren't good for them? I'm not them. I don't know what will make them happy. I know what would make me happy. And I know what they're doing wouldn't make me happy and would never placate that voice in my head. But I don't know that they have the same voice in their head. I don't know what they feel like their purpose is. Maybe they're not plagued by this constant idea that they're wasting their life. Maybe they just live. The idea that anybody just lives without being afraid that they're wasting their life is completely alien to me. I feel like we are the generation of anxiety, of wasting our lives. We grew up on social media. We watched other people live their lives in a way that nobody has ever watched other people live their lives before. Up close, personal, every day. We all know that it isn't what it seems, that you can post things online that aren't the exact reality, but if somebody posts that they made a bunch of money and then they went on a vacation, they at least made enough money to go on that vacation. They are at least on that vacation. And that's a silly example. It doesn't show responsibility. It doesn't show purpose, but it shows that people are living a cooler life than me. And people might be more remembered than me. Or worse, the people that I remember, that I care about, not just family members, not just friends, but like figureheads in media that I care about and I remember, when I'm gone and the next generation is gone and it's a generation after that, will they even be remembered? And then now, people who are remembered, not to be a cliche, but they're all canceled, you know? We understand that human beings have flaws, but then we see those flaws and we don't want to root for people with flaws, or some flaws are just too ridiculous and we're not going to root for someone who has this flaw or that flaw. And obviously, yes, some flaws are more than just a flaw, but everyone's a person. I don't know.
I got so wrapped up in what I was talking about that I forgot to actually record the ending to this video. So thank you for chatting with me and let me know what you've been through or how you related to this. And please like and subscribe. And just thanks for chatting. Bye.